आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं शेख हाशिम अहमद। इनकी थोड़ी सी प्रोफाइल के हवाले से आपको बताती चलूँ कि ये फॉर्मर म्यूजिशियन थे। लॉस एंजलिस कैलिफोर्निया में ये पैदा हुए और उसके बाद सच्चाई की तलाश के लिए इन्होंने अमेरिका 1970 में छोड़ दिया। 1971 में इन्होंने इस्लाम कबूल किया, ये इथोपिया में। इसके अलावा आपको बताती चलूँ कि इन्होंने डिग्री हासिल कर रखी है फ्रॉम फैकल्टी ऑफ दावा उसूलुद्दीन विद स्पेशलाइजेशन इन द साइंसेस ऑफ कुरान एंड हदीद। इसके अलावा आपको बताती चलूँ कि इन्होंने जमातुल उलूम अल इस्लामिया बनूरी टाउन कराची में भी अपनी खिदमत सर अंजाम दी हैं और आजकल यानी कि अब प्रेजेंट तक यानी कि अभी तक ये मदरसा आयशा सद्दीक़ा जो कि ख़वातीन के लिए है वहाँ पर ही अपने फ़राइज़ सर अंजाम दे रहे हैं। इसके अलावा जामिया बनूरी टाउन में इन्होंने 1985 से लेकर 2002 तक अपनी खिदमत सर अंजाम दी। इनसे आज गुफ्तगू करने के लिए एक पैनल मौजूद है हमारे साथ और उस पैनल का भी इंट्रोडक्शन आपको बताते चलूँ। हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं मंसूर नासिर जो कि रिफा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मीडिया साइंसेस के डायरेक्टर हैं। इसके अलावा हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं प्रोफेसर उमेर सद्दीक जो कि HOD हैं रिफा सेंटर ऑफ इस्लामिक बिजनेस के। ऑलराइट सामीन, आपको इस पैनल के जानिब लिए चलते हैं। सो ओवर टू मंसूर नासिर।
बहुत शुक्रिया हमारा। हम कोशिश करेंगे कि ये जो हमें शेख हाशिम अहमद साहब ने अपने बिजी स्केजुअल में से वक्त दिया है, इसमें हम ज़्यादातर माइक उन्हीं के हवाले करके रखें। सो शेख साहब, व्हाट I mean, out of all the religions in the world, options available to everyone, being an American musician and successful in that area, what made you tilt towards Islam?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala sayyidil mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahabatihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. First of all, it's not which religion we turn to. First of all, there is a basic awareness that took place in me and other people. And Imam Ghazali has mentioned this in a book which is known as Minhaj al-Abidin. So since we have a lack of time, otherwise it's a very, very interesting discourse and explanation of what happens when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants hidayat for someone. Because actually it's whomsoever Allah wants to guide, He guides. And
exactly.
Otherwise there's no guidance available except from. So myself, like probably many people, actually I grew up in the 1960s. 1960s of America was a very infamous time. There was a lot of revolutionary thinking going on. This was a time when people started realizing that materials do not lead anyone towards any type of success. They don't give you inner happiness, they don't give you peace, and material is material, it's powerless. So a lot of, norms and, status quos were being challenged in that era. That wait a minute, what we're doing, is it right? Is it working? Is it giving us success? Is it working for us? So we have observed when people open their eyes and their hearts and their minds, so they were starting to observe that the whole system is flawed, severely. For example, where I went to high school, now in the States we have a different system than your British system here. We have grade school, and then we have junior high school, and then high school, then college, university. So the high school that I attended in Los Angeles, it was situated near UCLA, famous, university there, which is right bordering West Los Angeles and Beverly Hills. So Beverly Hills is like, the top of the line, the poshest area of the United States. The movie stars live there, the entertainers, the big shots. So their children were the students that, were part of the student body that, we used to interact with. And the amazing thing was, and it's not really amazing, but it's stunning for many, that the most psychologically distraught and disturbed people that I've ever seen until today are those children?
Those
Children
of the
those
affluent one.
of those super affluent, super famous, super quote unquote supposedly successful
Yeah.
human beings. I mean, a
That
mess.
everyone else aspires to be in their
Yeah,
place.
and everyone is,
Yeah.
if I could just be like
Yeah.
them.
Famous.
Now, if you knew how they were, then you would say, oh Allah. Like Qarun. Everyone was saying when
True.
Qarun came out with his pomp and show, Ya laytana mithla ma utiya Qarun. Cash, we had what Qarun had, and the pomp and show and the money and all that. And then when the earth swallowed him up, they said, Alhamdulillah, we were saved from that. So actually, this is the thing, people, actually, I grew up, my childhood was I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Then in my very young child, I grew up in the mountains of Colorado, which was very critical in my sort of development. I was a child prodigy, as you can say. From the time I was around 7 years old, I started music. And so as an artist, usually artists tend to be introverted people. They're not socially, active and all that. So I used to spend time on the mountains and, in nature, and I used to love
closer
that,
to sky. Huh?
Yeah, and I just used to ponder over, the creations, subhanAllah, But being a musician, obviously, then the place to be is California, Hollywood, So when I was around 15 years old, then we shifted to California. So now here I am, Hollywood, the musician's dream and all that, So I'm pursuing my career and all that, But now at the same time, I'm seeing what's going on, you see.
Observing others
who
are successful
and most of the people, particularly, I was my specific line of music was basically jazz. So jazz music is a very intricate and very sort of creative type of music, and they say you have to be half crazy to actually do that. So most of the people who we thought were the greats of jazz, it's very seldom that they live past 40 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the energy.
Drugs and alcohol and this and else, to develop your creative abilities, all of these things are part of the package, you see. And then, because it's a very bizarre life, and naturally, the music, the more bizarre and the more intricate and the more, outlandish it is, then the more, great, people. What a creative genius. Actually, the fellow is psychologically, out of his mind, and that's why he's got such a, tremendous creativity, because he's trying to express this, distress and, psychological turmoil that's going on. So it translates into incredible musical forms. That's why you find most of your musicians and your artists who get or become notable and famous. It's usually you will find them psychologically extremely disturbed, and this gives them creative extensive creative ability that, and people but people don't know what's behind that. But people in the industry, we know what's behind that.
True.
But still, most of them just go along with it. Like the cattle going to the slaughterhouse. Goes cello, jo kuch bhi ho, go ahead.
True.
So this is what happens, and most of the people, most of my colleagues and contemporaries, few of them past 40 years old. So I'm seeing all of these things. And my contemporaries in high school, the extra elite. The discussion used to be that who's your psychiatrist? Do you know who my psychiatrist is? You know what I'm paying? He's better than your psychiatrist. They're bragging about what kind of head shrinker. We call a head shrinker. We used to say. So this is crazy. This is insane. What is this? So at the same time, as a result of this type of things, and the human being he's got a physical part, but the reality of the human being is not the physical body. This is the paradox, you see. The physical body is merely a vehicle. The real essence of the human being is the spirit. That's why when we say, fulan intiqal ho gaya. So kya ho gaya? What do you mean? Intiqal, he's gone somewhere. But actually he didn't go anywhere. He's right here. We say, no, that's not fulan, that's his lash, that's his dead body. So what happened? What happened is that the reality of that fellow has gone. His body is still here, but the real essence of that human being has left. And the real essence of the human being is the spirit, ruh. And what is that ruh? يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And what is the reality of that ruh? Nobody knows. Modern science with all of their splitting of atoms and going under the sea and reaching, I don't know where in space. But they still have not been able to define what is the reality of the human being, this soul, this ruh. What is it? Now, those who are lucky enough during that era, that 1960s era, so people, young people like me, artists, musicians, and other people, activists, and they say, wait a minute. The spiritual part of the human being is being totally neglected. We need to, do something about that. We need to actually, explore that. So, obviously, musicians, artists, they tend to be more spiritually inclined in any case, because they live in a realm of, the intangible, and they live in a realm of, the abstract. We you don't find artists liking mathematics, physics, computer science. That's not their kind of stuff, They like this, stuff. So, when I was about 16, 17, I also started, getting into these very spiritual things, Zen Buddhism, meditation. There was, these yogis came from India, There was the mentor of the Beatles, the Beatles was a famous band in those days. So their mentor, his name was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And he came from, from India. And, the Beatles, they made him their sheikh and all that. So when he came to Los Angeles, I was among those to greet him at the airport. And he came with his dhoti and barefoot and long hair and painted face and, oh, wow, great, this is real,
Mentor.
Yeah. So, so I went through those things, but the whole thing wasn't, it wasn't there. Then I got involved in Zen Buddhism, and they had some very striking concepts, something, much more than what we were. My father comes from a Jewish family, although he's basically an atheist. He doesn't believe in any religion. My mother comes from a missionary family of Christians. So, but, none of that was making much sense. Judaism is basically, it's a caste. If you ask, is Judaism, is it a religion or it's a race or what is it? You won't get a definite answer, but it's more of a racial type of a thing than a religion. So that wasn't making sense. Christianity, if we're doing whatever we want to do, and then at the end of the week we go to the church and sing a few songs, and Jesus is there to take all the accountability.
Yeah.
So what's the use of the religion then? In any case, I do what I want, and every Sunday I'll just get Jesus to take care of it for me. Sounds like Pakistani type of right? So this wasn't making sense. And then these Eastern spiritualities and disciplines that I was getting into, at first it's wow, meditating and yoga and fasting, standing on your head and all these things. It's great, but still this is not the whole thing. So I started getting an idea that, from the Bible, from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Zen teachings and all this. So I started seeing that, these holy people, prophets and holy people, basically they had few core issues that they were, focusing on. And they were inviting people towards. There's a creator, he has a system, you align with that system, and, you get connected with the creator, and then your issues are, taken care of, And if you're out of line, if you're out of connection, you're going to be out of connection. You're going to be in trouble. So I realized that they had some common denominators, some common basic principles and, issues that they had. However, the whole picture was not, I couldn't find that in any of these systems. So I began to think that, well, since there has to be a creator who's created all of this, he's controlling all of this, and he has sent these prophets and he has sent these teachings. So somewhere on the face of the earth, the real pristine and the pure, teachings have to be somewhere. Because it doesn't make sense that, it's all been garbled and it's all been changed and twisted and there's no, vestige of, the entire truth. So it must be somewhere. Where, I didn't know exactly, but it should be somewhere. So I started, researching and researching and whatnot. So and then I heard that, the original teachings of Isa alayhi salam, because, the last prophet that, in those days that we knew about was Jesus alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam. And as for Muhammad alayhi salatu, we had no real idea about that. Right. We didn't have Islam in the papers, 24 hours a day like we have today. There wasn't all that propaganda and all that notoriety and all that, Islam was something nobody ever heard. Muslim, right. Muslim. We heard of Muslim. Oh yeah, those are these guys that live, I think, somewhere in the east somewhere, and okay. Nobody had any real idea about that.
Some kind of tribe or
sometime or whatever. Right. However, the only thing that we knew about Islam, being a musician, and most of my music was along with the black community, so I was very much involved with them. So Malcolm X, he was a very prolific figure in those days. And he was originally with the Nation of Islam, which was the so-called black Muslims, and actually they had a very twisted, type of philosophy and beliefs, which Malcolm also got involved in. And then ultimately he went to Mecca and he went for Hajj, and he came to realize what real Islam was. And he realized that what he had been taught about, from his mentor and all that was all nonsense. So he came back to America and, dedicated to spread the truth. And that cost his life, which he knew that was going to happen. He said, I'll probably be killed within 6 months. I have a very short life left, but I'm going to tell the truth that I know. And ultimately he was gunned down in you might have read his history. So he wrote an autobiography. So I had read that autobiography, and I was very much impressed by that, like most people. So I had a little bit of, okay, Muslims are, there's something happening with them. So at the same time, as I mentioned, in Ethiopia, they claim that they have the original teachings of Jesus in the mountains, in these monasteries, and, way up in the middle of nowhere in the mountains there. So I thought, well, I'll go there. But on the way, I'll also go across North Africa and see these Muslims that Malcolm X used to talk about. So I just, pass through there. But actually, I'm going to Ethiopia to try and find that. So I left States. I got to Europe. I went through Europe and down through Spain and then to Morocco. When I got to Morocco, it was Ramadan.
I see.
Now everybody's fasting. So as I said before, in yoga and in this, all these things. So the fasting is part of the regimen. So I was well, versed in that. But I've never seen a whole people fasting. Okay. So when I came to Morocco, the whole country, even our king is fasting. Oh wow, really.
That was
that is super.
News to you.
Yeah. So I said, amazing. Okay, one. Number two, what I noticed in Morocco now, coming from the United States and mentioning Malcolm X now, that whole idea that the black community in America, the whole history of them being, is snatched out of the jungles of Africa and, and then brought in chains, like animals, worse than animals, and brought to America and then put through that, wasn't like, the concept of slavery in Islam is something quite different. We don't have time for that, but that's something very dynamic, and it's a process to actually bring people towards Islam. But that was totally just, dehumanizing human beings and, turning them into less than animals, and this is how they lived, And then ultimately, they tried to work for their own independent state in America because it's just impossible for the whites and blacks to mix. This is what Malcolm, came to this conclusion, and there was a black national movement, just like we have in various, racist movements anywhere. Since whites have, shown their white racism and supremacy, so the blacks felt that, okay, fine, if that's how it is, then we'll have to just, it's about black supremacy then. So we should think that we're better and we should create our own state and separate, because it's impossible for we, the black people, to live with those white people, who had done such and such to us. Which apparently, it seems that that's what it was. So even with all of the, so-called, educational processes and development and, psychological and social advancements that they have supposed to have undergone and developed, they couldn't solve this problem until today. That's why, even with the, having a black president, I mean, this is something totally, amazing for America. But why? This guy, his pigment is a bit darker than somebody else, so what's the big deal, But it's a big deal there, So that shows you that there's something, very fundamentally out of line over there. How did you have that paradigm in the first place? So why is having a black president such a big deal in the first place? Black, white, green, so what? So, and in spite of that, still you have a lot of America which cannot accept that. Still, black president, wait a minute, they can't accept that still. Now, and this was, mind you, this was 1970. So when I come to Morocco, I see white, black, red, in between, age piche, unis bis, and they're all, mashallah, no issues. Allah created somebody black, somebody white, and so what? So I said, these people, I mean, they don't even have any type of shuroor, that, somebody's a different color and maybe I'm better or nothing like that.
No issues of that.
No issues. That's another stunning thing, how is this possible? So what is it that's, what has brought about this kind of, understanding among them? Acha. Number three. In the United States, in Western civilization, probably basically anywhere, but coming from America, so it's very prevalent that, between the rich and the poor, although we're supposed to have democracy, freedom, and liberty and all that, but that's fine. But if you're rich, you're going to be privileged. If you're poor, sorry. So, and as much as, again, with the social, awareness and this and that, but still, they've not been able to. And the richer keep getting richer, and the poor keep getting poorer, just like anywhere. So they're no better than anywhere else. It's interesting that I saw recently a statement by some study that took place that, top management as opposed to, the labor class, like in the 60s or 70s or something like that, it used to be like 1 to 30.
The ratio between the...
something like that. If I remember, the figures to some extent. So in other words, if you're making $1,000, then your boss is making 30.
30,
That's what it was. And is it now what it is now? It's like about 1 to 300.
So the gulf between the two... massive, yeah.
So if you're making like around $2,500 a month, which is what? It's about 1 lakh and something, rupees. So you're considered, poor. You're going to be having a problem, meeting ends.
Yeah.
Paying your expenses, getting your rent paid, your utilities, and all that kind of thing. So there's a big gap. People think, you get to America and mashallah, you're set. I'm sorry.
Dollars
it's not
will
like
be
that.
on the trees.
No, I'm sorry, it's not like that at all. Unemployment now, I think, is higher in America than it is here, perhaps. In any case, so the gap between poor and rich is another big dilemma in the West, particularly in the United States. And therefore, if somebody, again, the black and white and the rich and the poor, now if this poor fellow, black fellow or Puerto Rican or whatever, if he happens to show up, for example, in Beverly Hills, where you would have within minutes, if not seconds, the police and the this and the that, and what are you doing here? Okay? Immediately. What is this poor guy doing in the rich neighborhood, You're not supposed to be here. And usually the poor would not, have the himmat to set foot over there, unless they... Now, opposed to that, while I was a musician and we used to play in the nightclubs and the bars and all this, and in the beginning of my career was usually in the very poor areas and black areas. So I remember one time we were playing in a nightclub. So some guy came in drunk waving a gun around, looking for somebody, about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And everybody's, ducking under the tables, and we're on the bandstand and we're looking at the guy, whether we have to jump now or what's going to happen, And he makes his round. He doesn't find the guy he's looking for, fortunately. And he didn't take his vengeance out on anybody else, also, fortunately, and then he left. Now, these clubs used to wind up around 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So around 2:30, now we're packing up our stuff and getting ready to go. Now, 2 policemen came. When? 2:30 in the morning.
2:30.
The event took place around 10 in the... This is in Los Angeles now. This is not, this is not in Karachi. This is not in, Liari. This is where? Los Angeles.
LA.
Okay? LA, downtown LA. So these policemen come and say, "Oh, we heard there's some trouble going on here." Yeah, officer, you're a little late, So this is a picture of what actually, in reality, the poor and the rich. I mean, sorry, if you're the privileged rich, you get all the facilities, and if you're from the poor areas, my daughter-in-law is now in States with my son, who's imam and teacher over there. So they live in New Jersey and not a very upper class. It's quite. And she's saying, I thought, we keep hearing, that you only have garbage and trash in the streets in Pakistan. I'm sorry. So she took pictures. No, look at this. This is New Jersey, Look, it's the same thing here, worse. Is it?
True.
Acha. So what? So that was all. What am I leading to? So here in Morocco, it's very difficult to differentiate unless you go to somebody's house and he's got a TikTok house. You cannot differentiate basically between who's rich and who's
classes.
Poor. And the rich are giving to the poor, and there's socially you don't have this thing at all because people believe that richness or poorness is not any of my kamal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yabsutu rizqu liman yasha wa yaqdir. Allah gives more to whom He likes, and that's there's nothing to do with me. Whereas the Qaruni, concept, إنما أوتيت على علم مني. This is my own knowledge and my own kamal and my own, greatness, and I've amassed this because of me. So that's what you get in America. That's, because I know I did my hard work. I'm more intelligent. I'm more, and so this happened. So this is another extremely different, 180 degrees, paradigm shift. So different things like this. So I'm seeing things like this. Today we think that Islam is spreading because of long discourses and internet programs and all these things. These things may have a supportive role, but Islam actually spreads through these things, actions, what we see. And this is how Islam spread. Think about Sahaba radiallahu anhu and Tabi'een. Now they're moving through the world. They don't speak anything except Arabic.
True.
They don't know the languages of the indigenous peoples. But wherever they go, the whole countries, the whole communities, they enter into Islam.
Transform.
Wholesale. Why?
By their actions.
Their actions. They said, what kind of people are you? We want to be like you. Now if we Muslims today walk around, people say, rather than, who are you? MashaAllah, they say, A'udhu Billah. This is the dilemma.
Yeah.
So not only we are ourselves inflicting, severe, losses and putting ourselves in severe risk, but we are also, rather than being a means of guidance for others, we are being the means of, hindrance of guidance for others. It's a very critical thing. Anyway. So, about a year, I'm traveling through North Africa. I spent about 6 months. I just wanted to pass through Morocco, but I was so enchanted by the place, and so I just, toured all around Morocco, and I started learning their language and all these things. So, then ultimately, for about the next year, I'm spending through North Africa, and I'm seeing that when you leave Morocco and you come to Algeria, then Tunisia, then Libya, they all have their independent, although they're Arabic speaking, but the Arabic they speak in Morocco their slang is totally different than
It is.
Algeria and Tunisia and then Libya and then Egypt and then Sudan, you know. So their language is quite different, their appearance is quite different, some customs, but these features same. So now I'm observing these things and I'm saying, what has caused these people to have this, you know, amazing, qualities that, you know, and they have, you know, the answers to these dilemmas that we have not been able to, you know, deal with in the West. But what is it? Is it because of their religion, because of their Arabic culture? It can't be Arabic culture because these people have a different culture. The Algerians have a different culture. Sudanese have a totally different culture, you know. Egyptians have their own. Tunisians, same. So I started thinking, these people, what is, you know, giving them this, you know, these qualities? So by the time actually I went through this whole thing, then I came to this, you know, it must be there. Islam must be there. Although I have never read a Quran, I have not seen one ayat of Quran, I have not heard one hadith, I have not heard anything about Islam except what I'm seeing.
Okay, but you
That's it.
interacted with few.
Well, I interacted, yeah, because in fact in Morocco I met up with Moroccan musicians. Musicians, you know, they
Your own clan.
yeah, you know, and I toured around with them, you know, so I got very good insight into, you know, basic Moroccan, you know, culture and all that. Unfortunately, not the more religious side of it, but even in those irreligious activities, you know, music and all that, still you will see, you know, for example, I'll give you an example. There was a group of army, you know, probably officers or whatever, and like armies usually do everywhere. So, you know, they had their parties and everything goes on and drink and all this. So now these guys, were playing for the army officers, and they're getting, you know, drunk. And actually the Arabs, when they drink, they can't hold it at all. And they're very hot-blooded, you know. So then somebody said something, the other guy got offended, and then they start fighting, you know. And then in the middle of the fight, somebody says, Sallu ala Rasulillah, yani give Darud Sharif paro, you know. So everyone stops, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Then they start crying, and then they start hugging and kissing. Oh, I'm sorry, yani maaf keji, you know.
Those,
yeah,
they were drunk. And
yeah. But when they hear the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything band ho gaya. You know,
Amazing.
unbelievable. You know. I said, wow, you know, that's a pretty powerful thing they have. You know, I mean, they're ready to kill each other, and all of a sudden, with a name, with one word, they've just, you know, amazing. So things like this, you know. Things like this, you know, simple, you know, sort of incidents, you know, and idiosyncrasies that I was observing. So now, I don't really know what is Islam, you know, and I don't know what, but I'm seeing that whatever it is, it's doing this for these people, you know. And even though, you know, unfortunately, we've only got a few percent of the real Islam is there, but even that few percent, it has such a, you know, impact, you know. Now that's the difference between, had I have passed through those places, you know, 1,000 years ago, I wouldn't have taken so long, you know, or it shouldn't have taken so long. I mean, I've gotten the picture immediately, you know. But because everything is so much distorted now. So, however, by the time I reached, as I was telling our friends last night, that between Egypt and Sudan, there's a large lake. It's known as Buhaira Nasser. Huge, actually. There's a dam. It's on the Nile River, and it's a huge dam that they've made, and it's a huge lake. So to pass that lake, when you start in Egypt and you end up in Sudan.
Right.
And it's about a 3-day journey by water. In those days, it was an old boat with a paddle wheel on the back. And
I see.
so on that boat, there were camel traders from Sudan. Dihatis, you know, villagers who used to come, and they would go to Egypt and they would sell their camels and they would come back. So they happened to be on that boat.
Right.
So they were calling the azan and offering their namaz.
Prayers, yeah.
Now this is the first time that I've actually seen the Muslims praying.
Okay.
Because as I was telling our friends last night in one masjid, you know, that in North Africa they are all of the Maliki madhab. And in the Maliki madhab, Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, his opinion was that a non-Muslim is not permitted to enter into mosque.
Right.
because he's unclean.
Mhm.
So, and he has a very strong argument for that. So, our Hanafi Nazdiq is that, no, there is some gunjaish in certain circumstances. Obviously, we don't want them, flocking into the mosque, but there is some gunjaish in certain circumstances. But in the Maliki madhab, absolutely taboo. So, anywhere in North Africa, no foreigner would, think of venturing into a mosque, into a masjid, because he would, if he's caught, he would face severe consequences, So I had never seen. So now this is the first time I'm actually seeing Muslims praying.
Right.
And as I was mentioning to our friends last night, Muslims here, somebody's praying. So what? It's no big deal. Therefore, somebody's praying and somebody's talking and laughing, and they don't really see it as any. But
For you.
for someone who has never seen this, it is unbelievable. And I don't have words to express what impact that had on me, you see. Now here are these guys, these villagers, and obviously they must be illiterate, very simple people from villages with the Sudani dress, their white turbans and their white, gowns, their white jalabiyas. So they call the adhan and they're offering namaz. So seeing these people in this, in this condition, standing and then in ruku' and then in sajda. By the time they went into sajda, I said, this form of worship, it's impossible that it came out of somebody's head. And whatever religion this belongs to, then it must be right. So ultimately, since we don't have much time, so ultimately I did reach Ethiopia. I went and I found those monks in the mountains. But the very interesting thing was, and they were, zuhud and, dunya be ragbati, as we call zuhud, Nothing to do whatsoever of dunya. They don't marry, they don't have the occupations, they eat, vegetation off the, earth growing wild and, ibadat day and night. However, their faces are full of darkness. Not simply because their skin is black, but you don't find any nur in their countenance. Whereas the Muslims, though he might be a trader, he might be whatever, but he's a neik saleh, you'll see on his face nur.
Faces, yeah.
So I said, wait a minute. The deen which is right, the deen which is haqq, it produces light, it doesn't produce darkness. So there's something wrong with these guys, and these guys have something going, right. So in any case, it was in Ethiopia actually that I accepted Islam.
I see. On your way back to...
Well, no,
from the mountains.
Yeah, I went there. I met these people, but I was always in contact with Muslims. It just so happened Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arranged it like that. I was always, meeting Muslims and interacting with them, and so ultimately, then I accepted Islam there in Ethiopia.
So, Sheikh Sahib, before requesting Professor Umair to ask anything, we got questions on the phone.
Okay.
So, Miss Kiran from Rawalpindi asking that after entering into Islam, to what extent your life has changed?
To what extent? You probably better ask the people around me. They would, they would tell you.
I mean, your own feelings, your own.
Actually, my life is you can say it's taken a 180-degree turn. Certain things have not changed. For example, as I said before, fitrat, fitrati torpar. So I always believed that there was, a creator and there was a sustainer, and we need to. So that obviously, that's remains the same. But as an artist, as a musician, and you can imagine what kind of lifestyle,
Yeah.
So it was a totally unstructured, undisciplined. I mean, in terms of other than music, with music you have to practice a lot. But otherwise, I was known as a very, sort of social misfit, and no one could have imagined that, that I could have ever gotten married and have a family and all that. And actually now I'm married and I have 12 children,
Mashallah,
so
mashallah.
that itself, people could not imagine that. and then leaving all that type of lifestyle.
Peace within, the tranquility, the
naturally
happiness.
And there's another thing. People say now yes, tranquility and peaceful, but at the same time, the happy-go-lucky thing, this concept that without the concept of accountability, it's not just your peaceful. You also hoshiyar, because you've got after maut there's hisab, there's qabr, munkar nakir, mizan, sirat, jannat, jahannam. So it's serious now. Otherwise it was jo kuch bhi ho, let the things flow on and whatever happens. But now there's accountability, there's systems, there's we have to balance our roles in life, and we have to look after all of the various areas of responsibility that we have to ourselves, to our families, neighbors, relatives, community, ummat, humanity. So I don't know if that's answered the question much.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Okay.
There's one more question from Mr. Nasir. After you accept Islam, do you really feel that Islam is the real lifestyle for human being? That's what he asked.
Yeah, there's no question about that. It's just, I said before, the main problem that I had with so-called religions, actually, there's no real reality of religions, because you have one creator and you have one creation, Bani Adam. We're all the sons of Adam. So all of the prophets have been teaching one religion. The problem is that they kept on getting distorted. And actually that was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, chahat, as you say. Because as the people twisted and distorted, actually another prophet was to come anyway. So as the new prophets came and the new books were revealed, so the update, the updated version, otherwise it was Islam. Inna ad-deena inda Allahi al-Islam. So, as I said before, the Bible, we can't verify it. There's no way to verify anything that's actually there. Even the original language is not available. The language of Isa alayhi salam was Ibrani and Syriani, and that's not available. Those original texts are not available. The only thing that's available, the oldest thing available, is the Greek, as far as I know. And from the Greek and then into other languages.
There's no scripture in
so
that.
So the original scripture is not available.
Not available.
You see? The Torah also, although it is in the original language, but it's nobody can claim, and they don't claim that this is the exact Torah that was. However, Quran,
as it is,
one harf is
yeah.
Every action of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam documented, not only documented, verified with such a verification process that there's never been a scientific discipline that has matched it. It's unbelievable. So there's and the Islam is the one religion, actually. I mean, it is the only religion, but it is the one system which actually gives you a whole format for your life. Otherwise,
in every role of your life.
Otherwise, you won't find that in any other religion, in fact. Just like in Buddhism, like in Zen, they had some very stunning concepts, But then I said, okay, then what about the common guy? What's there for him? There was nothing really tangible for him. Okay, what do you do? For the poor worker that goes to work and comes back, he has a family and whatnot. He can't sit on the mountain and meditate all day. So then what does he do?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's left out, then. That's what it was.
That's not normal.
But Islam, no. Whatever you do, if it's jaiz, we have a whole system for you. Don't worry.
Exactly.
While
at work, you are observing the teachings, the niyyah, the direction, you are actually practicing Islam.
Yeah, of course. In every activity. While you go to sleep, you also practice Islam, provided you go to sleep properly and wake up properly. The interim also is part of the whole agenda.
True, very right.
There's no question about it.
So, Professor Umair is now impatient, so please.
Let him go ahead.
Okay, what made you come to Pakistan, and also how different is Pakistan as compared to when you initially arrived here?
What made me come to Pakistan? What made me come to Pakistan was qadr.
Out of all the world,
but what was the
why did you come?
What was the apparent and the manifestation? Why did I come? Okay, why I came to Pakistan was I was studying in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca, and I had opportunities, a lot of opportunities over there. But what I found in Pakistan, I came to Pakistan with tablighi munasabat a few times while I was a student.
Right.
I had been in India and Bangladesh
Okay.
in the early 70s, and then in the late 70s I also visited Pakistan. So I knew, I knew the people here, and I had been over here. So what I liked about Pakistan was that, number one, it is the only country which, on the face of the earth, even Saudi Arabia, I mean, it's Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
It's not, Islamic Arabia, although it is, they have Islamic system and all that. But Saudi means it's a family thing. So it's a kingdom, okay, basically. Now Pakistan is actually the only country which, even the name, Pakistan, the Pakistan.
Mhm.
So it's the only country which has actually been, from inception, at least conceptually,
Mhm.
it's supposed to be a place for Muslims in Islam.
Mhm.
So, as one Egyptian fellow came, there was a top class khattati,
Mhm.
khattat we call them also in Arabic, from Egypt, top of the line. So he came here in the early 80s. When I came, also shortly after that, he said, "As I see, Pakistan is Islam's last frontier." This was his words, I see it as the last frontier. Kya matlab? Because this is the one place where people can actually come and practice Islam freely, and they can do. So I mean, of course, everything is going on here. Good is going on, bad is going on, everything is going on. But the amount of good and the amount of Islamic activity and positive Islamic activity that you will find, and which is going in Pakistan, particularly at that time, I didn't find it anywhere else. Plus my children's education, Islamic education. In Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, there wasn't much to offer there. Very unfortunately, but it wasn't looking very bright. Or to go back to America, or to go where. So we opted to come over here. And I was given an offer to teach in Binuri town in Karachi, and so I thought that's a good option. So we came, 1985, yeah.
I see.
Been here ever since.
So a question poured in from other associates. The day you embraced Islam, how you remember those very moments? Can you share
You see,
with us?
it wasn't like the day I embraced Islam. It was a process over a long period of time.
Oh yeah.
But it's
ultimately,
it's a funny incident that when I decided, yes, I'm a Muslim,
yeah,
it wasn't like somebody gave me the kalima or shahada, or you should.
or a
I
pill.
just decided, no, okay, I came all this way, and okay, I'm a Muslim. And actually, I was like 50%, then 70,
True,
and 80,
true,
and
gradually transformed.
and then finally in Addis Ababa, I said, okay, I'm a Muslim now. Actually, what happened was in Ethiopia, I also hooked up with a fellow who was a sort of sports performer.
I see.
I mean, he was one of these, muscle men that used to perform all kinds of weird things, and they would put big rocks on his chest and break them with sledgehammers, and you could run over him with a car, and he claims he used to fight with lions, and So he met me in some village, and so he said, why don't you join me? I'll do my show, and you can do your music show, and we'll travel around. I said, okay, fine, great. So what happened was that even by that time, I was, attracted to Islam, and I was, half a Muslim or whatever, I don't know. So we came to some village, and whatever village we would go to, then I would, gravitate towards the Muslims, and they would also gravitate, and I would usually. So we came to some village, and anyway, I met certain people in that village, and then they said, yeah, you're a Muslim, and yeah, I think so, yeah, pretty much so, yeah, okay, no, you need to be. So then I learned the Arabic alphabet one night.
Right.
So I stayed with one of these fellows, Muslim fellow in that village. So in the night we stood up all night, and then he taught me alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, and all this. So then in the morning I decided, later for this Alaghari Halamariam, something as his name was, this sports guy.
Right.
And he was a Christian, and he had issues with me mixing, because between the Christians and Muslims, friction, right there. So he kind of had an issue with me, hanging out with the Muslims. So finally I said, look, I'm going back to Addis Ababa, and I want to actually be a Muslim and learn Arabic and properly.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came on the bus. I got on the bus and sat down. He came crying. No, please don't leave me. We're having a good time. I said no, I'm going. So I went back to Addis Ababa, and I got a small room next to the mosque. And the mosque, Muslim area, obviously, it's a Christian-dominated country, so the Muslims are usually in kind of a less fortunate situation, as you might say. So in that area, so I got a little room, and I thought, now I need to learn how to pray. So I asked some of the fellows who also had rooms over there, okay, you're Muslims too, so teach me how to pray. So you'll be amazed that, I couldn't find anyone there among those rooms who actually knew how to pray.
Oh my goodness.
This is the condition of Muslims, not only here, everywhere. They said, well, look, we don't know exactly ourselves, but what you do is just go to the mosque and just see what the people are doing, and you do that.
Just do as others do.
So it just so happened that was Jummah, and it was Jummah namaz.
I see.
So my first salat, my first namaz in Islam was Jummah there. And actually, I didn't really know what I was doing, and the people were looking at, who is this guy? Maybe he's a, intruder or something, and I thought maybe my first salat and my last one also. But alhamdulillah, then I went to a place called Harar, which is a very, old seat of Islam and Islamic learning and scholars and mashallah.
I see.
So there
And where it is?
In Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Harar. It's an area of Ethiopia which is going towards Somalia.
I see.
And there I had my first Ramadan, fasting of Ramadan, and then I started learning things properly, and then, yeah. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's...
Umair sir.
Okay, what could be some of the reasons, of the spiritual, economic, and social problems of Muslim Ummah today? What, in your opinion, what do you think are the issues with that?
That's very simple, Very simple.
Okay.
It's just like, if you're in Rawalpindi and you're traveling on the motorway, so on your motorway, you people, I think, go on the left, right? Sunnat is to go on the right, but just just think about that. Now you're going on the left.
Right.
So you need to think about that also, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, so suppose, you're supposed to be going on the left side. You say, no, I'm going to go on the right side. Do not tell me, what do you think is going to happen?
Bang.
Yeah. You're going to at least cause a lot of problems and a lot of chaos, and probably you'll end up in collision.
Yeah.
And it's very likely you might lose your own life, and you might be the cause of others losing their lives.
Exactly.
So this is what's happening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a highway called Islam, and go in this lane, and this is the speed, and this is the way, and do it, and you'll be fine. We say, no Allah, we're going to, do what we like, jo kuch bhi ho, and this is what we're doing. So obviously, collision, economically, socially, in every strata, collision.
So how do we come out of it then?
Get on the highway.
Get on the highway.
Get in line,
in the right
and
direction.
Shape up, get in line, and learn the system and follow it.
And what about this ummah? Why are not Muslims united? Why was so much infighting and stuff? How can we overcome?
Because again, everybody's, rather than traveling on the highway, everybody's looking. I need a fast way to get there. So everybody's taking detours here and there.
But it's very confusing for an average person who is not studying too much or exploring too much.
Exploring too much. So the question is, why he's not exploring too much then?
Yeah.
Acha, when he gets sick, what does he do? He says, well, it's very confusing, yaar, So many doctors out there, and we hear there's so many quacks, so forget it. I'll just, I'll just remain sick, and, nobody does that. Yeah, we know
we
there's
ask
quacks.
About the
We find out, we research,
yeah.
Ask somebody,
Who is the right doctor for this very disease?
Why not?
And where to go.
But we don't do that with religion. We'll do that if we have a medical issue. We'll do that if we have a legal issue. We'll do that if we have some kind of, you'll find a villager, he's got some kind of issue with his land or something, and he somehow makes his way to the city, and he finds his way to the Nazim, and he finds his way to the, because he understands he has a real need to get that need satisfied. He's going to make effort. So we don't make effort, we don't learn, we don't ask, and we say, "Yeah, very confusing," you know. It's just a scapegoat. Actually, we don't want to, and we actually probably we don't want to know, because if we know what we're supposed to do, then that means, well,
You
then
got to do that.
I'll have to do that. Then I can't do what I'm doing. I'll have to come out of my comfort zone a little bit. So just leave it as it is. So, okay, you don't come out of your comfort zone, but you're not going to find any comfort anyway. So that's the paradox, you see. People want to be comfortable. So they remain in their comfort zones, and what happens is they continually get more and more uncomfortable. You know, as you said, you know, how was Pakistan when you came as to now? We didn't answer that, but it was quite different. It was much better. Because people were more in line, there was more adab, there was more, you know, religious consciousness,
Respect,
there was
and
more respect, you know, there was less
socially more.
So that's what it basically is. So you don't want to leave your comfort zone, but you're actually not really comfortable, to be honest, and you're going to get more and more uncomfortable, and the whole situation is going to become more and more. So if we'll come out of that quote unquote uncomfortable zone and start making an effort, then we will find ultimately true comfort.
So what is your advice at this very point of time, if you want to advise us? What to do? What should be the right step to embark on the right highway?
Well, first of all, just like anything, suppose somebody says, I want to become a doctor. Or I want to become a businessman. Or I want to become a president of the country. So what do? So first of all, you need to get in contact with the people who are involved in that particular field. And you need to come into the environment where that whole, whatever it is that you're looking for, it's available. Now, I want to become a doctor. Well, you need to come to the university. Well, I don't have time for that. It's difficult, expensive, but it won't happen like that. So what we need to do, probably we're in the wrong company. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when ittaba'ta akthara man fil ard yudilluka an sabilillah. If you follow most of the people on the face of the earth, they'll take you off the track leading towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we need to do is, let's not see the status quo, let's not see the fashion, let's not see what the people say. Let's find out what Allah wants, and let's find out the people who are aligned to that, and let's start connecting with them. Okay? And first things first, right? Priority. Everybody's talking about prioritization. So prioritization is number one. We need to exercise our iman building, because it all stems from that. The strength of iman, the strength of yaqeen, it will determine the strength of your actions, your akhlaq, your sincerity, the whole thing. So we need, to strengthen our iman. Iman will be strengthened by various things. First thing we need to do is start looking outside of ourselves. Look. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us, look in the heavens and the earth. And as I said, even before I was a Muslim, looking around, look at this universe that's all around us. One, the universe and the systems Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, and ponder over it.
Read the signs,
Read this, Now ponder over it yourself. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. Look in yourself. You don't see these systems going on inside your body. Who's controlling all of that? Your eyes are seeing. I just saw something, it was something about optics, and they were talking about, they have a camera that does this. They said, as compared to the human eye, it's nothing. When you have a camera, you have to, focus, and even if it takes fractions of seconds, still it has to focus. Now I'm looking here, I'm looking there, now I'm looking into the sky, it's, hundreds of miles, and I'm looking here straight. It takes no time at all for the eye to focus, human eye. Now who's doing it? I'm not sitting there with, gadgets and I'm, focusing my eyes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing it. You see? Heart is pumping, for how many? 60, 70, 80, some people 100 years without any servicing. No oil change, no spark plug change, no,
tuning.
No tuning, nothing. And best of all, you're not getting charged. Hawa,
And there's no idle time, even when you are sleeping.
And if it's just, a little bit of out of tune the heart attack, okay, finish. So let's ponder, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness, His zati greatness, that's beyond any human conception. But the greatness that's manifest in His creation, we're invited to look at that, ponder over it, see ourselves, see the ni'mats which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is from outward and inward, every second, millions of ni'mats that we can't, we could never count. When ta'uddu ni'matullah la tuhsuha. You will never.
True.
So building of iman, now once we build our iman, now get connection with the one we have iman on. And the most critical thing for this connection is our 5 times salat. Salat, okay, but not any kind of salat. That's salat which is actually a connection, not that salat which is the rism and the rawaj. That's salat which when we say Allahu Akbar, it comes in the heart and the mind, Allah is Akbar. Everything else is insignificant. And only Allah is significant. So that kind of namaz 5 times a day, recitation of Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's message. Somebody gets the letter from his beloved, his new wife or the new husband or mother and father, he's overseas. How he relishes, that. This is, risalat directly from Allah Rabbul Alameen, and He's given to us, and it's totally harf by harf, nukta by nukta, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed it. And we say, I don't have time to read the Holy Quran. Acha. Allah's remembrance, People can sit and listen to poetry, all night long, It's very amazing. They can, watch cinema all night long. And it doesn't do anything for them except make them more perishani. Because after the film is over, they say, where are we? They were in Hollywood, in Bollywood, I don't know where they were. And then all of a sudden, the lights go on and, we're here. And it's just going to make you more perishan. And if you will sit down and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Allah bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Everyone wants this tuma'nina, this, itminan, sukoon, chain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's not in anything, it's only in my zikr, it's only in my remembrance. Be it tasbih, be it recitation of Quran, be it dua, be it our namaz, be it doing any good deed with the remembrance of it. This is all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's dhikr. Itminan, comfort. So let's start with iman building and ta'alluq building.
Connection.
And then shuur for others.
True.
Akhlaq. This is a long thing, inshallah. We start on the road, inshallah, ultimately we'll reach. Bidnillah. With Allah's tawfiq.
Inshallah.
Okay, Sheikh, I have a question. Like some people say that, the reason for the downfall or the problem with this ummah is the inferiority complex. Ehsaas kamtari jo Muslimanon mein hai na. Do you relate to that? Or
No, that's not the reason for the downfall. Okay. That's a symptom of the downfall.
Okay, the inferiority complex. So how do we come?
Why does somebody feel himself inferior? It means that there's something that happened to him. There's something wrong. That's a symptom. That's not actually the thing.
Because
why do we feel again? It's all about yaqeen. We have yaqeen that if you get to America, you get a green card and you get that U.S. passport. Troubles are over.
That's exactly which is happening. And
that's perception.
If I'm living in Karachi. I don't know how much you know about Karachi, but I'm living in Liaqatabad. Okay. Goli Mar. There's a place in Karachi called Goli Mar. And really, it's a Goli Mar. You go over there, you get marred by a Goli. So I'm living in Goli Mar, and I said, gosh, if I just had that plot in defense, choti plot, it's okay, But if I just can move it to defense. Then we get to defense, I have a little plot here in defense. If I could just get that 1,000-yard plot over here, it just goes on, Because we believe that, there's some type of success or some type of, contentment or satisfaction in things. There's nothing like that. So our this inferiority complex is the result of our leaving deen, forgetting who we are. I mean, who are we after all? Sometimes I ask people, I say, look, tell me something, who would we consider to be the top human being on the planet? I mean, who's top of the line? Who's holding the highest position among humanity on the face of the earth? President, Prime Minister, trillionaire, who? I might get your feedback also on that. Who would you say, Think about it.
Amongst us?
Among people.
Among people.
I mean, the various statuses and, positions that you could hold. Who do we hold to be on top? Who's the man on top of the world, The guy with the most money, the guy with the
perception is with
Huh?
the wealthiest people,
Well,
all
yeah,
the perk,
the
all
powerful, the...
nonsense.
Mhm.
I just told you, I lived in Beverly Hills, and I told you,
Oh, yeah.
I've seen these
Oh,
people.
yeah.
They're the most, wretched, unfortunate fellows.
The personal lives, the kind of lives they are leading. I mean,
So who holds the top status among men? If you ask a Muslim and make him think, ultimately he'll say, they are prophets. They're top of the line. Anybody higher than prophets? No? What about senators, congressmen, presidents, president of U.S. Yeah. Any prophet, all the presidents, all the prime ministers, all your senator all of them put together, they don't match the dirt under the foot of a prophet.
Absolutely.
Much less a prophet. So that's the top stat. You can't go any higher than that. And mind you, you can't actually acquire that. That's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't say, I'm going to work hard and inshallah I can become a prophet. Sorry. It's not like that. Allah gives who, and that's sealed now, you see. So you can't become a prophet anyway. Okay, then who's next in status after prophets? Okay, you can't be a prophet, so let's look for second best. So what's next?
Sahaba Karam.
Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala. And who are they? They're the ones who followed the closest to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Proximity of time and proximity of actual practice. So actually, the highest status that you can achieve is to be the vice regent of a prophet. If you can't be a prophet, the highest status that you could ever achieve is the vice regency of a prophet. You're the prophet's khalifa. You're his, representative, and that's what this ummah is.
Very right. Very right.
So how have you developed an inferiority complex when you are the topmost seniority on the face of the earth? It means we've totally, we've lost perception and conception of who we are. We don't know who we are. It's like the, they give the story of the lion. He grew up with the sheep, so he thought he was a lion. He thought he was a sheep. He learned to, bah, like the sheep, and he learned, how to eat grass, whereas he's supposed to be eating sheep,
Oh, yeah. Very right.
So this poor lion, he's supposed to be the king of the jungle, but he's become this meek and downtrodden sheep. That's what we've become. We're supposed to be leading humanity.
Oh, yeah.
And how poor the humanity is really in this day, and how much they need our guidance, and we ourselves are lost. So it's the blind leading the blind. So we have become blind, and then we see other blind people who just happen to have more materials than us, which is also a promise from Allah. When they have totally forgotten what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them and told them to be, okay, you want dunya, you want things? We open the doors of all material progress and success. Have it. This is what you want, this is what you get. And the time of the death, then you see when you wake up, then see what it is. But at that time, it's over.
True.
There's no more. There's no second chance. You fail in the exam over here in the university. Okay, you get a second chance, third chance. Cello, 5 chances. Like in life, 1 chance. Death is the end. I gave you 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. You didn't think? You had plenty of time. I sent my prophets. I sent my books. You had scholars amongst you. You had the righteous people amongst you. You paid no attention to it. So this is what has happened. So by turning our backs, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you turn your back on me, I will give you a straightened life. I will give you zillat. This is what we are. Come back to me and I'll solve your problems. I'm the king of kings. I give kingdom who I like. I take kingdom who I like. I give izzat to whom I like. I give zillat to whom I like. You want izzat? It's with me. لِلَّهِ الْإِزَّةُ لِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Izzat is for Allah and His Rasul and for the people of Iman. You see? So this inferiority complex means we are totally disconnected, from our religion. We don't know who we are. the lion who has grown up with the sheep.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
But unlike lions, we are not here to devour the rest of the people. We are here to deliver the rest of the people. Nabi Sallallahu was rahma lil alameen. We were here to be a means of mercy for the entire humanity. And we are, impressed with the worst of humanity. That's so.
True.
So we need to work, we need to ponder, we need to realize who we are, what we are, where we came from, where we're going. So we'll have to work on ourselves, we'll have to work on others.
True. Khurram Sahab.
Well, Sheikh, you know that we are on an educational channel at the moment, so let's talk about little bit about the education. Do you think the present education system in Pakistan has the capacity to produce good Muslims and bring them back, as you said, onto the highway?
The mainstream education that's taking place.
The mainstream education.
I think the educational system needs a lot of work. I think again, the inferiority complex and the I'm impressed by others. It's still very prevalent. We need to go back and look at all of this, curriculum-wise, teaching-wise, and more important is the concept of leading by example. Because the teacher is actually a leader. It's not just this is the book, this is what it says, this is what the text explain it. But actually, Nabi Sallallahu was the greatest teacher, and he had no book, he had no school, he had no curriculum. He had his example, you see. So, I think we need to go back. I think there's a lot of things which are not only here. I mean, this is something which has been even identified in the West. That students are learning a lot of things. Their minds are being filled with a lot of information that is quite irrelevant to them. Something that is more practical. I mean, what am I going to actually, what are my roles in life? And what information, what knowledge, and what practical experience I would need to actually perform well in that. So if we'll analyze that and we'll direct our curriculum and modify and engineer our curriculum on these lines, rather than this is the curriculum we inherited from here or here or here or what. Let's see what are the student's needs, what does he need or she needs to learn, and let's engineer the course accordingly,
And what you want to make out of them. How you want to see them.
Yeah, what we would like to see and they need to also see the same thing. There should be a shared vision there,
Vision, yeah.
That, this is what, for example, in the madrasa system, my suggestions and we're working on these lines that, look, we would like to see where these individuals will ultimately end up, or what we would like to see them achieving, where we would like to see them performing. So what knowledge and skill sets and expertises, they should be having, so that they're able to do that, you see. So I think we lack a lot in that. We just say, well, they need to learn mathematics, they need to learn geography, they need to, and okay, is this going to be relevant to their lives or not? Whether it's in this life or in the next life as well. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Thank you.
Not only here, I think it's a global actually awareness now. People are saying, education is what. Yeah.
Thank you. My second question is that you have been associated with religious schools, Dini Madaris, both as student and as teacher. Mm-hmm. Do you think the general perception about these schools that they only produce militants and the sectarianism, they preach sectarianism, is that justified or correct?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, Islam. You have two basic spheres of effort going on since the creation of Adam alayhi salam. Now, when Adam alayhi salam was created, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the order for all of the angels to sajda, right? So Iblis said, no, I'm not making sajda. I'm better than him. This is sectarianism. This is racism, Mm-hmm. I'm better than him. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to prostrate to him. Okay. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have created Satan just like Adam and like the rest of the angels, obedient, but he didn't. He has created right and he has created wrong, he has created haqq, he has created batil. And that is, these two camps will be, juxtaposed until the end of the whole scenario. So now, obviously, since Islam is the deen of haqq and it is the system of life, so obviously, the forces of evil or the forces of batil, they would not like to, see Islam progress in any way, shape, or form. So you've got now a lot of propaganda, you've got a lot of people fueling these fires, but as a teacher in these madaris, I don't find anything like this, and usually it's external forces which fan these fires of rancor and dissension and fighting, and I question all of these bombings and all of these killings and what I question that how much, if this is actually being done by anybody who has anything to do with religion, because no person with any religious knowledge is going to take life and property without some shari justification, and this is going on a daily basis. So this is not happening. For example, I'll give you an example. Certain of our scholars in Binuri town who were murdered, so now when they were murdered, Maulana Yusuf Lidyanwi, a prime example, after his murder, that's the same day, the same night, all of the students were inside the madrasa in zikr and dua and all that. Outside the madrasa, we don't know from where, these hoodlums, I don't know if you have this term in, I mean, these unbelievable looking, they look like jinn type of people. I don't know where they came from, But truckloads of these people just emerged from I don't know where, and because I live in that area, and now they're all over the street burning and bashing and this, and then you see these Binuri town guys. There was no single student involved in any of that. You see, so it was all just a big hype, basically. So I don't say that there's not elements of that, perhaps, but it's not what the perception is. That's for sure.
Well, that brings me to another question. Now we have two distinct streams. One is a religious school, and the other is so-called the mainstream education.
Mainstream.
Do you think this division is unnatural if you look at the spirit of
the
Islam?
previous discussion answered that question already. I don't know what is mainstream, but religion is religion and non-religion is non-religion. Either you're, there's no such thing. He's a moderate Muslim, he's an extremist, he's a, light. Look, religion is there. I mean, particularly Islam, because Islam is not like, we have different versions of it. You have Quran, you have Sunnah, it's all totally intact. Now, yes, we do have levels of implementation. Somebody is implementing totally, somebody's implementing 80%, 70%, 20%. Somebody's totally non-implementing, but he says it's good, I don't do anything, but that's right. So, so I don't know what is mainstream. I know that this is what the religion says, and this is the system which Allah wants. And anything outside of that is, I don't think that's mainstream, that's off the stream, Allah Alam.
Great. गुफ्तगू सुन रहे हैं आप शेख हाशिम अहमद से FM 102.2 पे. इंग्लिश में इस गुफ्तगू के करने का मजबूरी ये है कि वो अमेरिकन हैं और अमेरिकन कन्वर्ट हैं माशाल्लाह. सो प्रोफेसर उमैर साहब ने अब सवाल करना है जी.
I'll just link my question to the previous question about the inferiority complex thing. Do you think this education system has to do anything to do with this as well?
Well, what role do you think education has in developing the identity of a human being?
It's supposed to have a very big role.
It has a huge role. It has a huge impact, exactly. Obviously.
Okay.
So that's why I said, you need to go back and look at your look at your whole system and see whether it's showing us who we are or it's showing something else. What's it doing?
And for example, we have this thing going in schools now. It's called Valentine's Day. And things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, or days like these. What kind of
New Year,
and all these things. Do they have any? Do they fit into our deen anyway, or how are they linked to Muslims or Islam? Or
well, it's very simple. I mean, did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, did he have a Valentine's Day?
No,
the Sahaba. Is it in the books of fiqh? Okay, well, in these days we have two Eids. Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr. These are the two Eids. My father asked me, he said, do you guys celebrate birthday? I said, yes, we celebrate every day. Because every day we wake up, it's a
Great.
birthday. I'm reborn. Because actually your ruh has been taken and Allah gives you back, so celebrate.
Absolutely.
Wake up and say, Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyan Father, ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. So other than that, we don't have, this is all, even the people in the West, they're tired of this stuff. Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day, musibat kya musibat ho gaya. Now we have to buy the card for her and him and him. It's terrible, it's a musibat. So they've made their own problems, and now we inherit we take on their problems and all the the foolish things that they do. Why don't we see something which is useful that they might be doing or they might have developed?
Sure.
And see, is it lying and it's, for example, they have created airplanes. They made airplanes. Okay? So we don't say that these guys, non-Muslims made an airplane, so I'm not going to fly in it. Allah gave them tawfiq to make it, so we'll use it. What's the harm? It's useful for us. Fine.
Useful, yeah.
But they invented Valentine's Day. Happy birthday. Make a big cake and invite people, waste money and make these takallufat. So this is useless. Moreover, it's going to create problems in our life. And Islam doesn't tell you to do anything that's going to unnecessarily create problems for yourself. We've made all these problems. Marriage. I'm sorry to say, the marriages that you have over here, it's unbelievable. We never saw in America like that. Somebody came, one fellow, he came in my building, a young fellow from the business community. So he met me, in the building, the driveway. He said, tell me really, honestly, don't you find it difficult, that, following sunnat and deen and all that, isn't it hard for you? I said, well, to tell you the truth, I don't find anything hard. I find it very easy, a very simple way of life. I said, actually, I think your lifestyle is looking very difficult to me. Kya matlab? I said, for example, when you get married, what do? I said, well, what we did, because we're new Muslims, we don't know all these, rawaj, rism and all that. I mean, we have no idea about that. We just look in the book and say, what is it? It says, well, you need to have 2 witnesses. Chalo, you and you, come on. I want to get married now. And this is actually what happened when I got married. So, okay, we need 2 witnesses. Yeah, what else? If somebody's there, to solemnize, fine. If not, it's not an issue. This idea of qazi, you need a qazi. What? There's a what do you call there's a litigation going on, or what's happening? You don't need a qazi, you don't need anything. All you need is 2 witnesses, and you need ijab and qabul. I'm proposing and you accept. Fine. Done. Meher, yeah, there has to be meher. Now, even if you forgot that and you didn't know about it, and okay, later you can arrange that. So that's how we new Muslims in America, that's how we get married. And that because we found that's what's in Sunnah. So tell me, is that easy or that's difficult? Anyway, I've observed that your marriages are quite different, You've got this Mendi, Wendy, Chandi and Sandi and I don't know all this, and then, you end up with this, he's got to give this amount of suits and this amount of suits and and this and his uncle and his chachi and his mamu ka chachi, this looks very difficult. I mean,
complex, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to supply the house and furniture and this and the relatives and, my God, it's terrible. So tell me, is following Sunnah is difficult, or you say, yeah, you're right, But still, it's very difficult to do that. Difficult. So this is the dilemma, you see. To do the easy thing has become difficult, and to do the difficult thing has become easy. One fellow I went to when I first came in Pakistan, some fellow, I had I was feeling some kind of discomfort in my stomach. So one of my neighbors, originally from Delhi, from the old Delhi type people. So he said, actually, you have this masala, yani ye naf slip ho gaya. Naf, So you need to go to the pahlawan and he's going to do this and that and he'll get you this sorted out. I said, okay, anything. So we went. So we went to this place in Karachi, it's called Bora Pier. Little, these little places and, market old area. This poor fellow, he had a little, dark room, and poor fellow, he hardly had any food or anything, So then he did his whole, whatever he had to do. Walk on your back and pull your legs and whatever. So then I asked my friend, okay, then what should I? He said, well, give him 5-10 rupees, whatever. So I gave the fellow. So so that Pahlawan fellow, he said, Murvi Sahab, please, make dua for me. I said, okay, what's your problem? So my problem is I have 3 daughters. So kya problem? Hey, that's a great niyamat. If you have 3 daughters and you raise them according to you, straight ticket to Jannat. I mean, what? Alhamdulillah. He said, yeah, apna jagah, that's fine. But I have to get them married. I said, so what? He said, I got one married, and this was now like around 1986.
Right.
He said, I got one married in 3 lakh rupees. I said, Mike, 3 lakh rupees? I mean, this fellow, if he's working from now until the next 1,000 years, he's not going to get 3. Wait. He said, now and I have 2 left, I don't know what I'll do. I said, what kind of thing is this? So following Sunnah is easy, or following, this thing is easy? So I don't know what the question, I forgot now what your question was, but I don't know where we...
similar to that,
Huh?
so I think we can...
Valentine days and celebrating
Yeah,
all those.
so all of
birthdays
this
and
stuff is
Mother
just
Day.
making life miserable, actually. And people are thinking this is khushi. There's no khushi. And then on the day of Qiyamah, and we have to present ourselves, where did you get this from?
Oh, yeah.
Did Allah may ask us, did I tell you to do these things? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, is this for my sunnah? So where do you got this? Yaar, I got it from, America. I got it from UK. I mean, we saw on TV. Whatever. It's not going to work. Sorry.
True.
Allah help us, Gee.
Okay, now, since I represent Riphah Center for Islamic Business, and we are doing this MBA program in which we want to promote and educate people in doing the Islamic business practices. So we'll ask certain questions, in that area now.
Okay.
My first question is, what kind of business opportunities and challenges do you see in Pakistani environment, in its local environment here?
Opportunities, there should be plenty of opportunity. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to this country everything.
Okay.
So there should be, and there is, opportunities exist. It's like when you do a SWOT analysis, what opportunities do we have?
Sure.
So if you look around in the country, you have tremendous possibilities, You've got everything over here. You've got natural resources, you've got manpower, you've got everything. Now, the thing is though, that if we will utilize these things in such a way that Allah grants, gives us the okay. When you have a project, then you have to submit that project to the higher authorities.
Sure.
And if those higher authorities accept the project or, okay it, they give you the go-ahead, okay, fine. So we have everything over here. The problem is that we don't have in Pakistan, we don't have the go-ahead from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we are trying to do the things, in un-Islamic ways. And in ways and with paradigms and objectives and, practices which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not happy. So in spite of having all these resources, so actually the challenge is not do we have opportunity, the challenge is to get ourselves in line so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give us tawfiq to properly utilize these opportunities and these resources.
Okay. Because people say, there are too many, challenges, and you have to do the bribery thing, rishwat thing, and you have to have links with the different people in order to succeed in the business environment. So this is what they say is the reality. Reality is that when you go in the market, you have all these issues. So how do we go about solving these, or how do we answer this?
So how do we go about solving it? Then we should go about solving it.
Okay, well, yeah, then we have
So
to.
how do we do that? So we don't have a Panadol for that. You're going to have to, all of us are going to have to, start taking some azam.
Okay.
Say, okay, Allah doesn't want this, so we're not going to do it. So if we're not going to do it, then we need to do things properly. And if we're going to do things properly, then probably we're going to face some challenges, or we're going to face some difficulties. Azmaish, as you say. Okay, so that's part of it. You're going to face it anyway. The azmaish that you face, suppose if you give the rishwat, then what? Okay, for example, we have a business, export business. So in export, obviously, that's the, in customs, they need their service charges. Right?
Yeah.
So we said, no, sorry. If there's some, actual duty or there's something, then that's the law, that's fine. Otherwise, we're not giving you any of that. Okay, chalo, you'll see. So we sent our man, we sent our container, so it sat there for a few hours. You know, without that, it's not going. Okay, fine. We sat there. So ultimately, when he realized, that these guys are not cooperating,
Okay.
So if they're not cooperating with me, then whether their container goes or doesn't go, then, so what? Chalo yaar, chhod do usko. I was driving one time, and I was turning into the road that goes just past the governor's house.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I was talking on my mobile phone, which I shouldn't be doing. I was wrong. So one young policeman, he saw me. Okay. Maulvi Sahab, mashallah. Oh, yeah. What do they call that, You've broken the thing, mukhalafat, I said, yes, you're absolutely right. Well, I'm writing the ticket. I said, yes, you should. Because I was wrong. I'm breaking the law, and you're right to write it. He said, okay, let me see your license. Unfortunately, I didn't have my license with him.
Okay.
Oh, license bhi nahi. Oh, Maulvi Sahab, I said, yeah, you're right there too. Write that too. And then he wanted to see he said, okay, show me the papers of the car. Original papers. I don't keep the original papers in the car. I keep a photocopy. He said, oh, no, you don't have the original papers? Oh, now we have to go to the Thana. I said, okay, sit down, let's go. And he got angry, yaar, and he just took my license and everything, or my papers and everything, threw it back in the car. Chalo, jao. मैंने कहा नहीं हो गया. So, yeah, okay, you will face, but ultimately, it's not like you can't, do the right thing. You can do the right thing, but people don't want to do the right thing.
Okay.
Just like, we can't do shadi without 3 lakh rupees. You can. And you can do it, you can be much more comfortable also.
Sure.
So, let's try and do things right, and probably you'll find that if you do things right, you'll find yourself much better off. And one thing is, and another critical thing here on the rishwat issue, once you've given that guy one time, it's like heroin, you're hooked. Because he's not going to let you off the next time. Once you show that I'm not doing this, okay, they may harass you, they may this, but ultimately they'll respect you.
True.
Say, look,
That's
this
true.
guy, he mazhabi log hai, usko chhod do. That's right.
We have heard that you have developed a specific Islamic model of doing business, the Al-Khair model. Can you share something, on that?
Well, what that is that we haven't developed anything. Islam has developed.
Okay.
And so we're just trying to go back to that model. And that is that just as our early Muslims, many of them were traders, some of them were agriculturists, whatever, for their occupations. They were all obedient slaves of Allah. They all used to spread religion. They all used to work. At the same time, they had occupations, professions. And those occupations and professions were aligned with their deen. And they considered it part of their deen. They didn't consider this is deen, this is dunya, and this is for Allah, this is for the state, this is for the police, or whatever. No. They considered that every activity that I'm doing, number one, if I'm doing that activity, it has to be permitted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it's permitted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then through the medium of this particular activity, it's also an opportunity for me to get closer to Allah, if I do it in ways which Allah is pleased with. And I follow the directives of Sunnah.
Okay.
So, and we all are well aware of the fact that the whole community who migrated from Makkah, they were all businessmen. Right, isn't it? And the Ansar were basically agriculturists. They were farmers. And Muslims have traditionally been, more into business than anything else, actually. And actually it's mentioned in hadith that 80% of the rizq, something like that, around 80% of rizq in my ummah is going to be through tijarat. So Muslims have traditionally been involved in business, and they used to consider it being part of their deen. And they used to consider that interacting with people, whether they're buyers or sellers or service providers or whoever they are, it is an interactive transitional activity which Allah is watching and He's judging, and it's a means of either acquiring Jannat or Qur'an khast. If we're doing it outside the limits, it will be a medium of sending us to Jahannam. So now what we would like to do is, we would like to bring the Muslim Ummah in every sphere, but this is a very critical area, and as you rightly mentioned, we're so far off the track usually. So we want to bring Muslim businesses back onto that platform. So I see this as it's a great medium of da'wah. It's a great medium of, Islamic revival through the medium of this business. So we would like to do business with this, that it's part of our deen and it's actually part of our life of ubudiyat and servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then that means that the objectives, our business objectives would be different. Our practices would be different than what's mainstream, what's happening, So we're working with that. We're also, mashallah, working with you people here at Riphah, mashallah, and we're working with others. And this is a global awareness which is now, taking place.
Okay.
Your conference coming up is also going to be
right,
dedicated
and I was going to
that.
mention that, we have a conference coming on Islamic business and finance on February 8th and 9th. اس میں ہم لوگ چاہیں گے کہ کافی سارے اس میں اسکالرز آ رہے ہیں ورلڈ وائڈ جو اپنی اس فیلڈ میں بہت نامور ہیں. تو جو لوگ سن رہے ہیں لسنرز جو ہیں they want to come and participate in this conference, they can call us Riphah University. They can go to their website as well. ایمیل ہے اس کا, بالکل اس کا ہے ایک ICBF 2011 at riphah.edu.pk. اس کو میں ریپیٹ کرتا ہوں. اس کا ایک اور ہمارا ویب سائٹ ہے.
Repeat it slowly so people can actually write.
Our website is www.ICIB, I for ink, C for cat, I for ink, B for boy, -RIU, Riphah International University.org. ریپیٹ کرتا ہوں www.ICIB-RIU.org. یہ فیبرری 7 اور 8 کو یہ کانفرنس ہونی ہے اور نباف میں. اور if somebody wants to come and look at it, actually meet Sheikh Hasham or regarding the model, business model, they can come and talk to us over there.
I think on the second day I have a session at from 2 to 4.
2 to 4, right.
2:30, I think, something like that.
Right, and then
I'll be presenting the Al-Khair model also. Khulasat of that as well.
ٹھیک ہے.
اس کانفرنس میں رجسٹریشن کے لیے جو رفا FM کا ٹیلیفون نمبر ہے اس پہ بھی آپ کال کر کے ڈیٹیلز پوچھ سکتے ہیں. ٹیلیفون نمبر ہے 051-254-6081 254-6081. اور انٹرنیشنل کانفرنس آن اسلامک بزنس اینڈ فائنانس کی جو ای میل ہے جس پہ آپ بروشر منگوا سکتے ہیں, انفارمیشن کلیکٹ کر سکتے ہیں, رجسٹریشن کروا سکتے ہیں کانفرنس میں پارٹیسپیشن کے لیے, وہ ہے ICBF انٹرنیشنل کانفرنس بزنس اینڈ فائنانس, ICBF 2011 at riphah.edu.pk. Riphah کے اسپیلنگ ہے RIPHAH.edu.pk. سو ایک دفعہ پھر میں ریپیٹ کر دیتا ہوں, ICBF 2011 at riphah.edu.pk. اور جو ویب سائٹ ہے وہ ہے www.icib-riu.org. تو انشاءاللہ یہ جو ان سی کانفرنس ہو رہی ہے فرام فیبرری 7th 8th and 9th. فیبرری 7th کو رجسٹریشن ہے شاید, اور فیبرری 8 اور 9 کو ہے اسلام آباد میں نواف شفا انٹرنیشنل ہاسپٹل کے اپوزٹ ہے یہ آڈیٹوریم جہاں پہ یہ کانفرنس آرگنائز ہو رہی ہے. عمیر بھائی آپ نے کچھ اور؟ بس
میں نے ایک اور بتانا تھا لسنرس کو کہ ہمارے بھی ایڈمیشن بھی چل رہے ہیں ہمارے پروگرام میں جو ہے, جس میں ہمارا فوکس یہ جس طرح ابھی بات ہو رہی تھی کہ اسلامک بزنس اور فائنانس کے اوپر ہے, اور یہ لوگوں کو معلوم ہی ہے آج کل کے کافی گروئنگ ایریا ہے. تو جو اگر لوگ انٹرسٹڈ ہیں تو اس میں اپلائی کر سکتے ہیں انہی نمبرز پہ فون کر کے. ایڈمیشن کا بھی ہمارے ویب سائٹ پہ جا کے, رفا یونیورسٹی کی ویب سائٹ ہے وہاں جا کے اس کی مزید ڈیٹیل مل سکتی ہے آپ کو, رفا سینٹر فار اسلامک بزنس کے سیکشن میں جا کے جو ہے.
In the end, I would like to thank Sheikh Hasham کہ یہ آئے ہمارے پاس, انہوں نے اتنا وقت نکالا اور اس قدر افیکٹو, یوزفل جو بھی آپ ایڈجیکٹو لگانا چاہیں اس گفتگو کا. ایمان افروز گفتگو کی. امید ہے آپ نے سنی ہوگی اور آپ کو پسند آئی ہوگی. یہ رپیٹ بھی کریں گے ہم اپنی ٹرانسمیشن میں یہی گفتگو. اس وقت تو لائیو تھے ہم, لیکن ہم
4 to 7 ریپیٹ براڈ کاسٹ ہوگا.
4 بجے سے 7 بجے کے دوران جو یہ رپیٹ ہوگی ٹرانسمیشن ایف ایم کی, اس میں یہ گفتگو آپ دوبارہ سن سکتے ہیں. سو ویری کائنڈ آف یو شیخ صاحب فار بینگ ود اس ہیئر. اور میں اپنے پینل کا بھی پروفیسر عمیر صادق صاحب, معظم صاحب بھی یہاں بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں جو RCIB کے RC کے ڈائریکٹر ہیں. خرم صاحب بھی یہاں تشریف رکھتے ہیں, پروفیسر خرم صاحب جو RC کے ڈائریکٹر ہیں, ان کا بھی بہت شکریہ. ہمارے سینئر پروڈیوسر اظہر نیاز صاحب بھی موجود ہیں, ان کا بھی بہت شکریہ کہ ان کی وجہ سے ہم یہ پروگرام کر پائے. اور اوور ٹو امارا واجد کا ضرور شکریہ ادا کرنا, جن کی وجہ سے یہ کوالٹی آڈیو آپ سن رہے ہیں.